Mike and Virginia Chevalier are not only diehard Broncos fans, but they've supported DNVR for a long time. They're members, and they're a husband and wife mortgage team with over 15 years of financial services experience. So head over to DNVRmortgage.com to check out what they have to offer at Chevalier Mortgage. Since your home is likely to be one of your largest assets and your mortgage your largest debt, they believe it's vital to consider your full financial picture when purchasing a home. This includes considering your short-term and long-term planning goals, your investments, and your tax situation. Mike and Virginia will work tirelessly to find the best loan for you and your situation. Visit them at dnvrmortgage.com, or you can call them at 303-257-6578. Mike and Virginia at Chevalier Mortgage. They'll get you set up.
Number one for the one and only DNVR. Two goes out to Zach, Mace, RK, and the bar. Three for Mr. B in that old trophy case. Number four, we're still waiting for. Well, bring on the chase. Out on the field, a mile high, Broncos win is our desire. Couple with a break, crew and a friend, lead orange and blue to the bitter end. Come and join us at the DNVR. We are DNVR.
Welcome in to the DNVR Broncos podcast, setting you up for 2 straight uninterrupted hours of debate talk. Let's go.
We just need to interrupt each other all the time then.
Yeah.
What the debate needed was Zach Stevens. It needed him to be able to have the mute button, because then imagine if one is trying to cut off the other and Zach hits a button and yells, "Muted!" over and over. For the 6 minutes of that I was able to stomach, I kept thinking, this debate needs Zach more than anything else.
Wow.
Oh, that would be fun. My voice would get tired at the end. That'd be a lot of muting.
I just like the idea of Zach's laugh just being in the background of every answer. What's up, Daniel? Thanks for tuning in, and thanks to everyone who's tuning in to another edition of the DNVR Broncos podcast presented by MSU Denver Online. Head over to msudenver.edu/online to check out all they have to offer. 750 classes, really anything that you can imagine, any way that you want to further your education. msudenver.edu/online has an option for you. So head over there and check it out. We've got some people at DNVR that have been taking classes all summer over there, and they really have nothing but great things to say about it. So if you want to further your education online, there's no better place than msudenver.edu/online.
My boys, what's up? So pumped for this pod, man. It feels like it's in the middle of the week right now, yet we're talking about a Broncos game tomorrow. It's because it is the brilliant joys of Thursday night football. And man, I can't wait to break down this game.
Yeah, I mean, what more could you ask for? The 0-3 Jets and the 0-3 Broncos. You've got third-string quarterbacks. You've got absolute dumpster fire organizations, players trying to start a mutiny against coaches. I mean, this is the good stuff right here.
But I think one is a bigger dumpster fire than the other right now.
Well, it's tough to beat what's going on with the New York Jets.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is the game where, if you're a Broncos fan, you're looking at this and saying, well, yes, it can be worse. Look at these guys on the other side. Look at what they're dealing with. And the other thing with the Jets, of course, is that the dysfunction there, it's in the moment with Adam Gase, but it's also institutional. And so you look at the Jets, and it's almost like a warning to the Broncos that, hey, you don't want to end up like this organization. At some point, you got to fix everything that's going wrong here.
Yeah, their first mistake, though, was hiring someone who's only ever really had success with Peyton Manning by their side, and was a failure in Miami. And so they wanted to do the whole young head coach to get to pair with your quarterback thing. And I feel like they didn't review any of the evidence before they made this hire.
Unless this was just a brilliant hire with a lot of foresight, because they said, we want this guy named Trevor Lawrence. He's coming out of high school right now, so we need to hire someone that's going to get us there. you know what? I think Adam Gase will get us there. Let's just only give him a quarterback. And you know what? If Sam Darnold develops, great. If not, well, then Trevor Lawrence, here we come. Guys, I saw odds that the Jets are getting nearly even odds to go 0-16.
That can't be right.
I didn't think so, but a buddy of mine sent it to me last night. Can you believe that?
Well, take the other side, because
yes.
I assume it's also even for them on the other side. If it's even for them to go 0-16, I would take the field in this situation, meaning they get at least one win. And to be honest, could come as soon as 24 hours from now, or I guess 36 hours from now.
Yeah, it very well could. Like I said yesterday, this is probably the Jets' best game to win a game. The odds are probably in their favor more than any other game, and they're still an underdog in this game, but they're only a 1-point underdog in this game. The Broncos, is this their best chance to get a win this season? I don't believe so. When you have Drew Lock back, even though you'll be playing better teams, I think you'll have a much better chance of winning a couple of games down the rest of the season than you will tomorrow. But for the Jets, I mean, if they lose tomorrow, then maybe those even odds in my mind to go 0-16 may seem right.
Well, you look at the games that they've got coming up after this: Arizona, at the Chargers, Buffalo, at Kansas City, New England, at Miami, a bye, and then Miami again. Yes, they play Miami in back-to-back games. Vegas, at Seattle, at the Rams, Cleveland, and at the Patriots. And even a lot of those weaker teams like Cleveland, they look pretty feisty. They look much better than the Jets do. The Dolphins look much better than the Jets do. I mean, really, where's the win coming from here if it doesn't come on Thursday night?
I think
Thursday night.
I think they win one of the two games against the Dolphins, especially when they get to play them in back-to-back weeks. Who do they play before the Dolphins, Mace?
New England.
So just count that as a loss. Start preparing for the Dolphins 2 weeks before you play them the first time. Then you get to play them once. Continue preparing for them for 2 more weeks, and then play them again. You could prepare for the same team for a whole month, basically. And I think if you do that, you can get a win.
Of course, so the Dolphins, because the Dolphins and Jets have the same bye, so they both have the opponent by opponent thing going on. It's hilarious how they structured this part of the schedule. And who do you trust to get a team more prepared? Is it Brian Flores and his staff, or if Adam Gase is still on the job and his staff? Although that being said, one of the reasons why Adam Gase, his seat is so hot is because they actually do have a viable replacement interim head coach in Greg Williams waiting in the wings, who did a really good job as the interim coach in Cleveland a couple of years ago. So I would say if the Jets lose this game, they actually have a better chance to win some down the line, because they've quit on Adam Gase. I think they'll play hard for Greg Williams.
Real quick, especially since there's no fans or little to no fans, couldn't the Jets and Dolphins just agree to play each other 2 weeks in a row and then take their bye so they can prepare for their next opponent after that? That's what I would do if I were them.
I would just do back-to-back nights. Let's just do Sunday, Monday, or heck, since no one's gonna watch it if we play on Sunday or Monday, let's just do a Tuesday, Wednesday little back-to-back, and then take a couple weeks off.
That's
Love
awesome. I'm down.
How about just a day-night doubleheader?
Just one game that's 120 minutes, 30-minute quarters.
I like it. It's like an aggregate. So anyways, yeah, the Broncos if the Broncos were hosting the Jets, I would feel confident that they were going to win this game by a lot. They got their easiest game of the schedule in the toughest situation of the schedule. And man, the schedule makers did these Broncos no favors, even including the fact that they're playing the winless Jets tomorrow night. The Broncos have the most difficult strength of schedule in the NFL going forward. Or no, the third most difficult schedule in the NFL going forward after this game, or including this game. And I assume once you take this game off the schedule, it moves up on that list. So schedule makers did not do the Broncos any favors. Of course, the injury gods that also did the Broncos no favors. But when I look at this game and say, okay, if the Broncos are going to get a win here, what has to happen? I kind of look at it like last night's debate. The debate was just a competition of who could be less bad. And that was, and who could make less mistakes And I think that's what this comes down to. Who can make less mistakes? The Broncos don't have to do anything special to beat the Jets, so you don't need Brett Ripon fitting in tight windows and making crazy throws and trying to push it downfield. No. You just need to play mistake-free football, and that is everything to me in this game, because you don't have to do anything that right to beat the Jets. You just have to be less wrong than the Jets. Sam Darnold throwing pick sixes like it's Halloween, and he's giving out candy. Brett Ripon, just throw the ball to your guys. And if you have to punt. But as long as you aren't making big mistakes, and that includes the defense too, not letting guys over the top like they did the last time they faced Sam Darnold, you will win this game just by not screwing up more.
Literally, that is my key to the game, is specifically quarterback mistakes. Sam Darnold has been very prone to making mistakes just in the past couple of days. Brett Ripon, right now, you can make the case that he started 8 for 8 and looked really sharp, or you can make the case that he averages 1 turnover per possession. He can't do that. He cannot make the big mistakes. And really, I think this game could come down to what team gets the pick six. If the Jets get the pick six, they win. If the Broncos get the pick six, they win. There very well could be a pick six or 2 in this game. And so which team is able to avoid the mistakes? If I'm the Broncos, I'm devising a game plan where it's almost foolproof for Brett Ripon. It is get the ball out in 1.5 seconds, throw it no more than 7 yards downfield, and then we're just going to run the ball a ton, because I do expect Phillip Lindsay to be back. So tons of running. And like you said, Ryan, punts are not bad in this game. It's gonna be a tough game for the national audience to watch. But if the Broncos want to win, they have to accept that punts are not bad.
There's an old special teams coach phrase, and just an NFL coach phrase, which is every drive should end in a kick. And that is exactly how I feel about this game. As long as every drive ends in a kick for the Broncos, they will win the game.
As long as the kick isn't blocked. And that was the other, because we've talked about short fields. Of course, they had the fumble for a short field against the Titans, an interception for a short field off of Cortland Sutton's hands against the Steelers, and then a block punt for a short field against the Bucs. You can't keep giving your opponents basically 7 points each game, that as you have.
There's 2 ways that I see this game going, and I've been in. I just feel like I've seen this game already. I just don't know which one it is. There's one game that I've seen a million times where it looks like the Broncos should win. The other team is shorthanded and they're a dumpster fire and they have no chance. And their fans are saying, "Listen, it is terrible over here." And the Broncos go in there and they just dominate. And the perfect example of that is that game against the Arizona Cardinals on Thursday Night Football, I believe, a couple of years back. Which, the Broncos were going in there and everyone's like, I don't know, Vance Joseph could get fired if they don't win this one. And everyone's kind of looking at this from Broncos country saying like, no, you guys don't realize how bad we are. And the Cardinals fans were saying like, no, you don't realize how bad we are. We can't protect Josh Rosen. He's just throwing the ball up. He's throwing pick sixes. It's a joke over here. And what happened? The Broncos won something like, did they score a 40 burger that game?
I think they did.
Yeah. Emmanuel Sanders was throwing touchdowns, I think. Todd Davis and Chris Harris Jr. high-fived in the middle of a play. This was a beatdown of epic proportions, and that's when you walked away saying, "Oh, okay, the Broncos aren't that bad. They're a long ways away from rock bottom, which is what this other team is." I could see that happening. I can also see the other one, which is, the Giants coming into Mile High and I believe beating the Broncos 23-10 with no receiver, like guys they just found on Colfax before the game. You've seen the game against the Jets the last time where we're like, this is a huge swing game, totally winnable for the Broncos. All they got to do is go in there and take care of business. And you've got Bilal Powell and Isaiah Crowell rushing for over 300 yards and Robbie Anderson catching 2 long touchdowns and Sam Darnold looking like he should have been the number 1 overall pick. I've seen that one too. It's one of these 2. I just know it. It's either going to end in absolute flames and despair, or end with everyone saying like, oh, okay, they're not that bad. Stop with the Trevor Lawrence garbage. They're not going anywhere near there.
Okay, what would be better for the Broncos long term?
You know, here's how I feel about this. It's got to get like, if Drew Lock wasn't coming back, just pack it in, just send it home. Just lose the game. But with Drew Lock coming back, I don't know. I guess in the end, you want to stack up as many wins or as many losses as you can before Drew Lock comes back, because Lord knows they're not going to have enough wins, or at least it sure feels like they're not going to have enough wins to make the playoffs at this point. So would you rather, in the end, what you're going to be looking for is progress from Drew Lock. And if you can get that progress and also lose a bunch of games, well, that's probably the best case scenario. And I made the comparison on Twitter yesterday to the San Francisco 49ers. Now, they lost Jimmy G for the season. They went 4-12. They got Nick Bosa. And that is a path that I could see happening for this Broncos team. It just seems like they're never coming out of this hole. The injuries pile up. All of a sudden, you add an elite talent to your roster that was already really talented but really banged up the year before, and now you're really good. I think that is kind of an ideal scenario for the Broncos. So in that case, I guess it would be better to stack the losses while you still can, because I think Drew Lock's going to win 50% of his games when he comes back.
Bingo. Yeah, you're right there. Because I think when Drew Lock comes back, they're a 500 team. So that means if you're 0-6 and then he comes back for the Chiefs game, that means you end up going
5-11.
5-11, and hopefully that would be a top 10 pick or even a top 6 pick. Last time the Broncos were 5-11, it was 5th overall. But you mentioned the strength of schedule; they'll probably end up losing strength of schedule tiebreakers when it comes to the draft picks. So. Yeah, it's not the worst play long-term to say, okay, stack up the losses now, because I think when Locke comes back in, this team can only be but so bad.
Well, and let's say that the Broncos do win half the games when Drew's back, and they are 1-6, they're 0-7, they're 0-5, whatever that looks like. Well, then that means Drew Lock's pretty darn good. If he's elevating you from no wins to then winning, every other game. Now, it may also say that you have a lot of work to do, more work than really any of us thought coming into the season with the rest of the team. But at least you know that Drew Lock's the guy. But here's the thing. What if Drew Lock takes over and, he didn't beat the Titans in week 1, and let's say he wins 2 of the 9 games, the 10 games he plays in with that tough schedule there? Well, then if you gave Drew the keys at 0-6 and he only wins 2, well, then you're 2-14. Then you're in really good position for Trevor Lawrence. So it's crazy to say that in the long run, losing this game may actually help more than hurt. And I don't like saying that, but just looking at it that way, because you're probably not making the playoffs this year, regardless of if you win or lose this game, because I think all of us agree Broncos are going to turn around and then probably lose to the Patriots next week. So they're going to be 1-4 at best after this. Long term, maybe the best position to set yourself up and losing this game. And also, you give the Jets a win. The Jets, who may not win another game, and if you're really fighting for that number 1 overall pick, well, they got to win.
Yeah, it's so early to be having these conversations. There's so many football games ahead of us. Look, if this was week 14 and the Broncos were 1-12, I would be saying, like, you have to lose this game. It is imperative that you lose this game. But since it's not, and you've got a coach that you really don't want to fire, not only just for monetary reasons, but for, John Elway will fully have a giant sign over his head that says Coach Killer if they fire another coach after 2 years. So that's the side of me that's pulling me the other way, saying, as much as it sounds good for results that are going to come, 3 months away from now, if you go 0-4 with a loss to the Jets, those guys in that locker room, regardless of all the injuries, are just they're going to start questioning things. It's just human nature to be like, man, I thought Vic Fangio was supposed to be the evil genius. I thought he's supposed to be the mob boss. It doesn't feel like he's pressing any right buttons. Like, and that, not to mention, I don't really love the guy. He's not that enjoyable to be around. And you don't want that. You really don't want that, because If you lose the team, then your hands are tied. You have to fire the coach. But you really don't want to be in that situation. The best case scenario for the Broncos is not only just to get positive signs from Drew Lock this year, and not just positive signs, like feel really good about Drew Lock moving forward, but you also want to feel good about Vic Fangio moving forward. You need him to show that he could go out coach Adam Gase, who's clearly in over his head. And you want them, playing that Frey song while showing a slow-mo clip of Adam Gase losing his mind on the sidelines, not while showing Jeff Driscoll at quarterback. So I get the idea of the draft position, but you go 0-4 with a loss to the Jets, you are in the danger zone.
Well, I'll go further, actually, than just talking about draft position. If you go 0-4, you need to start entertaining trades of anybody who is not in your plans for 2 years from now. And you've been willing to do that. The last couple of years, the Broncos have traded Demaryius Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders at the deadline. So it's not like the Broncos aren't willing to make those kind of deals. But if you're 0-4, you really just need to kind of have a hard conversation among yourselves in terms of the Denver Broncos brass and say, we've got to think about this long term here. What is the best play for us? And obviously, no player is going to tank. I want to just make that clear. Everyone talks about tank. No, as Tyler Columbus, our friend, likes to say, no player ever wants to put bad film out there. They're going to try their hardest. But if a guy isn't in your long-term plans, you are better off having the draft pick.
100%.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So, you start shopping Von Miller and Jarrell Case.
Yeah.
You can't trade those guys. But no, you guys are right, and that's kind of the way long-term vision of this is in the long run. If things really go down the garbage, it's better to lose this game. But of course, no one's thinking that inside the organization because it is way too early to do that. And when you guys are talking about how this game's going to unfold, and Ryan, you mentioned the blowout losses to the Giants and the Jets, and you also mentioned the win in Arizona. The whole time I'm thinking, what was the difference? And the one thing that really stuck out to me was Von Miller saying, we're going to beat their ass about the Arizona Cardinals. And, that took everyone by surprise. And that was the storyline going in. And, we're saying, what if they lose? And there was no chance that the Broncos were losing that game after Von Miller said that. Who's doing that on this team this year? I have no idea. Last week I may have said Jarrell Casey was that guy who was going to do that. Maybe not, out to us, but inside the building, maybe it's Kareem Jackson. You can make a case for him, but that's just the one thing to me that I'm like, I don't know if there's that guy right now, because it's certainly not going to be the quarterback.
Yeah, and that's why I asked Justin Simmons yesterday on the Zoom conference about where is the leadership coming from. Now, he's one of those guys that you're counting on to offer leadership without Vaughn, without Jarrell Casey, without Todd Davis, who you cut. Cortland Sutton was emerging as a leader on offense, and of course, Drew Lock. But you do need that fiery leader, that person who's going to say, it goes this far, no farther, not on my watch. Kareem's probably the best candidate for that.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. Have you guys happened to see the promo that they're running for this game on NFL Network?
No.
Oh man, I saw one earlier this week. Who were they headlining? And I was
Melvin
like,
Gordon. That's
Melvin Gordon.
That honestly, I don't know why it was like, oh man, this team is so uninteresting from a national perspective. I think the line in it is like Melvin Gordon's revival. And I was just like, oh.
He had 8 carries on Sunday. I mean, that's not on him, but he had 8 carries. You paid him $8 million a year, and you gave him the ball on the ground because he had four receptions as well. But you gave him the ball on handoffs 8 times.
Well, Mason,
I don't care what
sense.
The score is. I mean, that's just wrong.
Well, Mason, makes sense. He's sharing the load with Phillip Lindsay, also getting Royce Freeman in there, and you got Drew Lock slinging it around. So of course he's only going to get 8 carries.
I told you guys it was going to happen. There was going to be no room to run the ball in that game, and there wasn't. But I couldn't believe that was like. I wanted to see. I wish I could see a live reaction of the guy who does those promos when they handed him the script. They're like, all right, here you go. Sell Broncos Jets combined 0-6. The most interesting story about the Broncos right now is Melvin Gordon's revival. He's like, are you guys serious? Like, I could not get over the fact that was what they came up with for the Broncos. And then I tried to think, what's a better,
right?
What else could I think it would be more interesting to build up Brett Ripon as this like super winning quarterback from college and go with that. To me, that's more interesting.
Or just the kind of the Rocky style storyline. Okay, he's an undrafted guy coming. Yeah. He had to fight to be a starter in college. He had to fight to get on a practice squad, and now here he is with his best shot. You play up the underdog thing. I mean, it's there was a guy. There was Chuck Wepner who was the inspiration for the Rocky movies. That's what you're doing. You're saying Brett Ripon, he's 1,000,000 to 1 shot, and this is his shot. Something like that.
Yeah, see that's more interesting to me. And then you talk about how he won 90 games in college, threw for over 13,000 passing yards.
Played on a blue field.
Wait, 90 games?
No, sorry. He threw 90 touchdowns in college. How many games did he win?
A lot. Wouldn't it be like it's in the like upper 30s, right?
Yeah, let me look it up.
It's something pretty high. Because Boise just keeps winning and winning and winning.
I bet you there's a lot of people that are Mountain West football fans that feel like Brett Ripon won 90 games in college.
Yeah. Probably screaming at us right now as they're watching this or listening to this.
Of course, they don't have the record readily available on this page, but he won a lot of football games.
Yes, and Sam Darnold has not won very many football games.
37-12.
Yeah.
37-12 is his record as a starter at Boise.
And I spoke with a couple of sources yesterday who know Brett Ripon really well, and they just could not stop raving about him. And not from like this kid's going to take over the NFL type of thing, but it was just like, this is the guy that you want leading your team in a moment like this. He's so cognitive. He's so aware. He really is a good leader. He's going to, take the reins. He's not going to be afraid. And he's just going to cherish this opportunity. But most of all, the thing that was talked about was his football IQ. And that, to me, was the biggest, most glaring issue for Jeff Driscoll. Man, if you go watch The Turning Point with Matt McChesney on our website right now, he breaks down 4 plays from the game and kind of shows you where things went wrong. And I'm sure you guys remember it. There is a play where Antoine Winfield creeps up towards the line of scrimmage. And he is the extra guy out there that the offensive line isn't going to be able to block. He's not near any wide receiver. It is very obvious he's coming. And the Broncos just do nothing. They just let him run. He just stands at the line. No one checks to anything, and he just runs and sacks Jeff Driscoll. And it's like, this cannot happen. And I know we've mentioned it this week on the show already, but then Brett Ripon comes in, and Matt goes over this play as well. He sees what's coming. He checks once, but then he realizes that, and here's the play, of course, where you see Winfield on the side there. He's just standing there. He's clearly coming. He has no responsibility over there. It's not like Garrett Bowles is going out for a pass. He's very clearly coming. No one checked out of it. So what was impressive from Brett, and I actually didn't catch this until I saw it from Matt. I knew he checked at the line. He actually checks twice. He sees originally 54 and 45. He's calling out 54 and 45 on that AA gap right there. But then he sees another more dangerous defender on the outside. I believe it's actually 31, Winfield. And he actually checks away and says, hey, make sure we also pick up Winfield. And the Broncos pick it up, and they go get a first down. This type of stuff is incredibly, incredibly important for this team right now, because otherwise teams are just going to pin back their ears on every play. And I think Brett Ripon has the opportunity to get them into plays that can succeed against these type of blitzes.
Yeah. Brett Ripon was a complete opposite of Jeff Driscoll in this game. We know Jeff Driscoll struggled mightily when pressure was brought. He couldn't do anything. Brett Ripon was great when pressure was bought because he did these things, Ryan. He was able to check the protection. He saw it was coming pre-snap. But what's interesting is when they didn't bring pressure on 4 plays that he was in, they were all negative plays. One was a close interception. One was a sack. I think one was a penalty. And then one was the interception. So if you're the Jets, this should be easy. And you're Greg Williams. He's probably their best coach right now. So which is a little unfortunate for the Broncos, but it's easy. I'm sending 4 against Brett Ripon. And if they bring Jeff Driscoll in, I'm bringing the house every time.
Thank you very much. Because now the Broncos have a run game again.
That's what you hope.
What got Jeff Driscoll benched is the same thing that got Brock Osweiler benched years ago. Remember in that game against the Chargers when Peyton Manning came in, a big part of Brock Osweiler's problems was that he wasn't diagnosing when the Chargers were bringing extra pressure from the edge when they had a defensive back coming up to blitz. And so that pre-snap stuff, I mean, it's massively important in terms of being able to find advantages at the margins, being able to set things up pre-snap. And if you can't do that, then it doesn't matter if you have arm talent, doesn't matter if you have athleticism. Assuming Jeff Driscoll has both of them. If you can't do the things pre-snap to get everybody in the right position, then you shouldn't be playing. And the other thing that kind of is illuminating is, and why everyone should watch this Matt McChesney video is, people always need to understand when there's a sack, it's not always on the quarterback or on the offensive line. A lot of times on the quarterback, and you can look at the pressures and sacks that Jeff Driscoll took, and a lot of it's on him, not on the O-line.
Absolutely. Okay, guys, so this is our last podcast before the game.
Wait, Ryan, before we do it, if you're going into predictions really quick, I have to get your guys' take on Vic Fangio and this potential 2 quarterbacks playing throughout the game. He's mentioned it every single time we've talked to him this week about how Jeff Driscoll might come in. You know, he's an athletic guy is what Vic has said. Is this just to prepare Broncos country and try to not make it hard if he has to bench Brett Ripon? Or is this that they actually may use 2 quarterbacks, each series? What is this message that Vic's sending out?
I think it's twofold. One, I think it's going to happen. I think they're going to play Jeff Driscoll in this game. But 2, I also think he wants to make the Jets prepare for him because they're 2 different guys. And as we've seen, you would execute 2 very different game plans against them. Jeff Driscoll, you bring the house. Brett Ripon, apparently, you're better off staying back in coverage and not giving him any easy reads. So I think there's some of that, but I also think that maybe there's a case here where the Broncos realize, okay, Brett can hold his own out there. We don't have to be so scared of getting Jeff Driscoll hurt that they might actually go ahead and use Jeff Driscoll's legs, because that's the only thing I can come up with as to why the Broncos were not using Jeff Driscoll in a way that allowed him to use his greatest strength, which is his running ability. I just figured, okay, they must just be too afraid of going to Brett Ripon that they don't want to get Driscoll hurt out there, so they're not going to get him outside of the pocket. Now that they've seen Ripon can hold his own, which I can't believe they didn't know in the first place, I think they might say, okay, now go run some zone read.
Or the other thing is maybe we see the return of the wild horse package with Jeff Driscoll playing the Tim Tebow role.
It'd be creative.
Yeah.
And I would like that. Yeah. I think it's because if Brett Ripon struggles maybe on the first 2 drives, they want a quick hook and then be able to put him back in. I think if Brett Ripon looks fine and is just not messing things up, then you may not see Jeff Driscoll in this game. I just think it's because Vic Fangio wants to not get fans ready for it, but he wants to kind of mentally get Brett ready to be potentially pulled and then put back in.
I think one thing that's worth asking also in terms of talking about this game at quarterback is if Drew Lock is not back by the New England game, and I think it's trending toward it being less than likely that he plays in Foxborough. What needs to happen Thursday in terms of performance to prevent Blake Bortles from starting that game in Foxborough?
Win. And I think if you win, because I don't see Brett Ripon playing well and the Broncos losing. I think if the Broncos lose, it's because Brett, maybe he's not awful, but he has 1 touchdown, 2 picks, no touchdowns, 1 pick, something like that. And then I think it's going to be all Blake Bortles.
Oh God. I mean,
no love for Bort, huh?
No, honestly, that video of him throwing passes in practice is one of the most concerning things I've seen from the short period of time we ever get to see videos of Broncos practice.
But think of the possibilities of Blake Bortles and Cam Newton in the same game when it comes to memes. I mean, it's off the charts. It's the greatest meme matchup of quarterbacks ever. If that happens.
At least Brett Ripon has a quick processor and a quick trigger and a quick release. Like, that's enough for that's all I'm asking for at this point. I don't know about Blake Bortles' ability to process. I assume based on all of his experience, he could probably get the team into the right play at the line. But man, his release is so slow and so painful to watch.
And just sidearmed, it's bizarre.
It's like Brock Osweiler. I mean, there he was, this 6'7" quarterback who, if he threw over the top, would have a perfect scenario in terms of delivery to get over every defensive line. And when he got under duress, he always devolved into that sidearm thing, despite all the coaching to try to get that out of his system. Just goes to show that no matter how much work you do to change your mechanics, to change the way you throw the ball, to have the optimal style, that when you're under pressure, you end up reverting to what you were.
Okay, well, thankfully we don't have to watch Blake Bortles throw footballs this week. So we do have to watch Brett Ripon, and I think it could be enjoyable. I'm not going to know what my answer to this question is until it comes out of my mouth. I still don't know what I think is going to happen. But Zach, I'll start with you. Let's get down our predictions for this game here on Thursday Night Football. Some have called it the game of the year.
Yeah, and it's going to live up to the worst game of the year, I think is what I heard you say, Ryan. And it's going to be that. And I'm just trying to think of the ugliest score possible. I was thinking 13-12. I may end up going with that, but I think it's going to be a close game. I think Vegas is right about it being a close game. Man, when push comes to shove, and I've had so many people this week just remind me how bad the Jets are. But then what I say back to them is 2 things. I say, well, the Broncos are without 11. They have 11 guys on the IR, including 5 starters. They may be without 5 of their 6 Pro Bowlers. If Phillip Lindsay's back, then they'll be without 4 of them. Not only are they without their quarterback, they're without their second string quarterback has been benched. So they're with an undrafted second-year guy in Brett Ripon. And I like Brett, but if you just view it like that, then how are the 0-3 Broncos not too far off from being the worst team in the game right now? I think when Drew Lock's back, that changes. And when push comes to shove, they have Sam Darnold. He has not been good, but we've seen flashes of it. And I like the unknown of Brett Ripon, but they have the quarterback. They have the better quarterback. So I'm giving that 1-point favorite to the Jets. I think the Jets sneak out of this with a 1-point victory. You know what? I'll go with that stupid number. 13-12 is what this game will be.
How do we get there? 4 field goals?
I guess, yeah. And I hate doing it where no team gets in the end zone. 4 field goals, and I guess since I said pick 6, Brett Ripon gets picked for a pick 6, and then the Jets add 2 field goals to that. So I guess I'm saying there's no offensive touchdowns in this game.
There's a few other things. You could be talking about a safety, so a touchdown, a field goal, and a safety, or think of and it just hit me when you said 13-12, that the Broncos, with only a couple of field goals, could be they could be down 13-6, right? And then Brett Ripon, just like he did in the Hall of Fame game, brings the Broncos back downfield, dink and dunk, touchdown pass. They're going for 2.
Why
They
not?
don't get it. They lose 13-12.
Oh man, you don't bring Juwan Winfrey in for that corner touchdown?
He's not busy right now. Why wouldn't you? Maybe Tyree Cleveland is going to play the role of Juwan Winfrey, since basically that's who he is. Like Tyree is Juwan 2.0. That's why he made the team and Juwan didn't.
Well, Zach, at DraftKings Sportsbook, you can get under 29.5 if you want it at plus 375.
Oh my gosh!
You gonna make that your DraftKings pick of the week?
Oh my gosh! No, I can't do that. I can't do that. I was thinking originally my pick was going to be 17-16, so that would go just over that. But guys, do either of you have the under on this or the over on this? I believe it's set at 40, right?
I have it right in front of me right now. 39.5. It's come down a half point since Brett Ripon was named the starting quarterback.
Oh, there's your confidence in Brett Ripon right there.
Yep.
What's your guys' score? What happens in this game? Because I'm curious if anyone has this being a game where both teams score in the 20s.
I've got it 20-10 for the Broncos.
Oh,
hey!
Winning. And it's not so much on the Broncos. I think what we have to note is this. The Jets are a really bad football team. And of course, how bad? Well, I figured there's got to be a number to explain this, and there was. This is the 13th team in the last 25 years that started 0-3 without scoring at least 20 points once and losing every game by double digits. But you know what happened to those previous 12 teams? They all lost their fourth game by an average margin of 14 points. Now, the Broncos, not a good team, so I'm not saying they're going to hit that average victory margin, but I think they'll do enough. I think the defense will get a takeaway, whether it's I'm not sure if it's going to be a fumble or a pick or whatever, but I think the defense is going to get a takeaway, a short field, set Brett Ripon and the offense up for a short field touchdown at some point. The Jets are a horrid football team. Horrid. I mean, if there's every reason for Broncos fans emotionally to go into tank for Trevor mode if they lose this game, because you will have lost to the worst team in the NFL right now. But I don't think the Broncos will do that.
There we go, Mace.
Like I said, I really have no idea. I've never felt less inclined to go one way or the other on a football game. The one thing I predict is pain. Pain for all involved.
We just went through pain last night. It can't possibly be any worse than that.
Well, no, that's absolutely correct. But my tiebreaker here comes down to what team wants to win more. What team actually wants to win the football game? And that's the Broncos. The Jets, yeah, of course, do those players want to go out there and show well for themselves? Of course. But they also, they want Adam Gase fired. And so I don't think they're going to throw the game, but I just don't think they're going to be motivated in a way that I think the Broncos will be. I think the Broncos are going to have more of the backs up against the wall type of mentality, whereas the Jets are going to have more of the let's get this crap over with and go to Vegas for the weekend mentality. And because of that, I lean Broncos. It is not going to be pretty. So I'm going to say 13-10 Broncos win.
Yes, two ugly scores. So, I mean, if you're riding with Ryan or I with our score predictions, you're taking that under 20. Was it 29.5?
Yeah, or you just take the 39.5 and be safe, but you can get the odds boost of 29.5 and get 3.75 to 1 odds.
And look at that. Mace is only half a point off from that too. So, I mean, it definitely seems like that 39.5 is safe, doesn't it?
It definitely feels like 39.5 is safe. I'm just going through some of the props on DraftKings Sportsbook right now, and man, they feel high to me. You've got Brett Ripon passing yards. What would you set it at, Zach?
What would I set it at, or would I think they set it at?
What would you set it at?
I would set it at 181.5.
Mace?
That is precise. I was just going to say 200.
Yeah, okay. I would have had it sub 200. It's at 219.5.
Wow.
Yeah, what about Sam Darnold passing yards?
185.
I would set it at 229.
Oh, okay. So you're right on. 227.5.
Mm.
And
Have
then
they seen his pass catchers? I mean, they don't no more Jamison Crowder right now, so it's Braxton Berrios and it's not much.
We've seen this before with the New York team with no receivers.
I know.
There's also player you would like this one, Zach. I guess player to have more passing yards. Sam Darnold -129. Brett Ripon +103.
Holy, is Sam Darnold has Sam Darnold lost it completely?
I mean, some would say.
You're right. Yeah, some would say.
Player to have more receiving yards. Braxton Berrios or Jerry Jeudy.
Ooh.
Wow. I'm definitely taking Jeudy. I feel like that's a bad trap, though.
I don't know what it is, but it's crazy that Braxton Berrios is the one being named on this list.
Yes, it is. It really is.
Hey, I liked him at the Senior Bowl a couple of years ago, though. I wanted the Broncos to pick him.
Oh, we all did. We all were Braxton fans.
And then a year later, I wanted them to pick Hunter Renfrow.
Yeah.
And here they are, both on the Broncos schedule this year.
Yep, exactly. Man, so there's a lot of good things on DraftKings Sportsbook, and I'm going to go with my pick of the week. I'm going to go away from this game because this is such an ugly game. I have no idea what's going to happen. You know, I give the Jets that 1-point win, but it is with 50.5% confidence. You know, I have the Broncos right there for it. So I'm just not comfortable with this game. One game that is just jumping out to me that I'm very comfortable with, it's the Baltimore Ravens going into Washington to play the Washington football team. I don't care what the line was. I'm taking the Ravens in this one. The line is 13. Give me the Ravens to go in there after their really disappointing performance on both sides of the ball on Monday night and just destroy Washington, who will be without Chase Young. So give me Washington, or give me the Ravens plus or -13.
There's a lot to be said for a good team and a great player playing angry. And I think that's a great pick, Zach. And my pick is very similar. It's somebody who's playing angry. And of course, that is Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers, who are undefeated. They're 7.5-point favorites at home against Atlanta. And of course, Atlanta has blown leads left and right. But at some point, when you have some tough losses, they start wearing on you, and then the whole thing collapses. Atlanta's defense is in complete free fall. It wouldn't surprise me, guys, if the Packers put up 40+ in this game on the Falcons on Monday night and win comfortably. So even though the Falcons are getting 7.5, I've got to go with the Packers on this one with that spread. If it were 10 or 12, I'd have some thoughts, but 7.5 for the Packers that the Falcons are getting, that just seems like free money to me.
Man, so your pick is the Packers.
Yes.
Okay. I don't know why that game just scares me. I don't like the hook there. It makes me uncomfortable.
Well, for me, the reason it makes me uncomfortable is the Falcons have proven that they can be a really good football team. So do they do that for 4 quarters this week? Do they do that for no quarters?
They've proven they can be a really good football team on one side of the ball.
Yeah.
The defense is terrible. All the progress they made in the second half of the season on defense last year, which basically say Dan Quinn's job, that's out the window right now. That D is a sieve. Rodgers is going to carve it up.
All right. I don't hate it, but it makes me uncomfortable. I was going to get cute here and go with one of these player props. I don't think Sam Darnold's going to be on the field enough to throw for 227 yards. I mean, that's like got to have like at least 4 or 5 sustained drives to hit that number. I don't think they're going to come close to that. But instead of trying to get cute and go for one very specific thing, just give me the under. I mean, under 39.5. It feels so safe. And really quick, I want to look at the team totals. The New York Jets under 19.5. I also like. But I'll just take the 39.5 and ride with that. I think there's a lot of paths to under. I don't think there's a lot of paths to over.
From the way we've been talking about this, that just seems like free money. It's like, well, you could take the 375 if you want to go 29, or just take the free money. And if you ever get a chance to get free money, I guess I guess you take it, right?
That's exactly how I feel, Zach. Okay. Well, with that in the books, I think we're going to end the live portion of this podcast. We're going to head over to the comment section, which you can find, of course, anywhere that you listen to podcasts. And if you listen to this on YouTube or watched us on YouTube, we'd love if you gave us a thumbs up. Maybe go hit that subscribe to the DNVR YouTube channel. And if you're feeling really generous, hit the little bell right next to the subscribe. You'll get an alert anytime we go live, so you can make sure you never miss one of these. But for the live portion, that's going to wrap it up. So thank you guys so much for tuning in.